Hey, what's up y'all? Good morning. It is February 20th. It is a balmy 50 degrees out here. Pretty crazy for Florida. We were in the 80s and now we're back in the 50s. Nothing compared to what folks in Texas are facing right now. But anyway, out here to do my first application at the Freedom Factory. You can see the winter has taken a toll on it. It's mostly gone dormant, and so it needs some fert. And then also we are just getting inundated with weeds now. Look at that. It's mainly in the areas here, like where the irrigation was put in. And so you got some opportunistic, there's some nutsedge right there. Yeah, all kinds of stuff. Look at these opportunists coming in here. So I'm not gonna do too much filming today just because I really need to concentrate on the app. I don't want to stripe this. It's 100,000 square feet. So mainly the idea, I'm just doing this video so I can show you before and after. So I guess I'll see you in a couple weeks.
Many hours later.
Hey, what's up y'all? I actually got a quick video today. I actually had to stop by here at the office, had to pick up some fert. By the way, all the fert blends are now available for sale. Click the link in the description below. If you have warm season turf, this is what I recommend you start with. 100% slow release nitrogen will get your warm season turf started off nice. 20% potash, great to help your lawn coming out of stress. Y'all in Texas, whenever your lawns warm up, this is a great one for you. But this is actually a broken bag. I'm one of the privileges of working here is I get to have all the broken bags for myself. But really, the main reason I came here is because I need to pick up this spreader right here. I'm gonna actually review this today, and I'm gonna do an app at my house and let you guys know what I think about it. This one's been talked about a lot in the different groups, and so I got me one, and I'm gonna do a review. So I'm gonna take that back to the house, and I'll see you there. All right, so here I am back at the house, and I'm gonna go ahead and go through this RB60 here with you, kind of show you some of the things I like and don't like, put a little fert through it, and then, you know, we'll kind of go from there. By the way, you can see the lawn is looking pretty good. Had fert on it, same fert I'm gonna put down today, I put down about 5 weeks ago, so we're due. I like to fert every 4 to 6 weeks or so, but color's still holding nice and strong. For those of you that have been following along through the winter, you can see these are the areas I had to resod from the grub damage. They are finally starting to come in now and recover. We've had a pretty rough winter here, you know, as winters go in Florida. So still need to wait there. This side over here, this is the Floritam, also looking good, but definitely due for a little more fert blast. Also, I just wanted to say, so this is an area that was resodded. This is the palmetto, and then in between there was some weeds that encroached. Opportunistic. I want to show you, I haven't talked a lot about weed control recently, but I sprayed recently. This was some dayflower, which is pretty common here, but you can see a lot of damage. This is pretty much dead. See how it's just pulling out? That means it's dead. And that is just from that over-the-counter weed control, the Image, the purple label, Image for Southern Lawns. You can see some more here. Look at that. It just killed it. That's over-the-counter weed control right there. See that? It's all dead. Can't even get a good piece for you to look at because it's all just dead. But that's over-the-counter weed control right there. Image for Southern Lawns for all warm season turf. I highly recommend it. All right, so let's get to this review. And before we do, let me take you through some of the official particulars, or what you might call some of the unique selling propositions that the manufacturer Echo talks about with this spreader.
The RB60 is an affordable and easy-to-use broadcast spreader packed with pro features. With a dry weight of 23 pounds and a hopper capacity of 60 pounds, the RB60 holds up to 25,000 feet of material. The frame is powder-coated steel, and the commercial-grade T-handle is designed for comfort. 10-inch pneumatic tires for easy maneuverability, and it assembles in less than a minute because you buy it already assembled from your dealer. I paid $134 for mine, but now that I'm looking here on the website, it looks like the MSRP is $99.99. Maybe that $34 is what I paid the dealer for assembly. Your lawn needs care and attention to be lush and green. Use Echo's RB60 to get an even, accurate coverage for seeds, fertilizers, pesticides, and more. Get the healthy green grass you want all year long.
Now, I shouldn't always have to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. This is not sponsored. I actually bought this at my local dealer, and I actually think that is mainly where you get these. They probably have them on Amazon too, but most people I know, including me, got it from a local dealer, and I paid $134 for it. It was all assembled and everything. I just walked in, they had it, I bought it, and I was out within a few minutes. So right off the hop, let me just say, this spreader is not perfect. In fact, there is no perfect spreader, especially at this price point, which is what I would call, you know, kind of mid-grade consumer level. You know, you have your entry-level type fertilizer spreaders, like your Scott's ones that you can get over at like Home Depot and that range from like $35 to $70. And then these are what I would call your mid-range type consumer spreaders. This is $130. The Earthway, the 2600A Plus that I've used and like, is like $130. There's some AgriFab spreaders that are like $130, $140. That's where this is. It's that mid-grade consumer level type spreader. And since it's gone ahead and showed us its undercoats here, this is exactly the first thing I wanted to say that I like about it, is the wheels, or the tires, I mean. These are like a hard rubber. You can put air in them, but they're pretty solid. These actually roll really well across my thick, beautiful St. Aug gopher bite. Don't call it crabgrass. And I've had no issues. That's one of the things that's happened with different spreaders before that I've had, is they can't go through the St. Augustine. So if they can go through the St. Augustine, they can go through your bluegrass or your rye or your Bermuda or whatever. So that is one of the things I like, is the larger air-filled tires. The other thing is, just in general, it does feel stout. It doesn't feel chinchy. Some of the spreaders you get, they just feel like they're gonna fall apart in your hands. This isn't like that. It's the fit and finish is good. It's put together well. Back here is where you do your spreader settings. This is where you can dial it in. You kind of pull down and you can move like this to the different settings. They're fairly positive stops, which is nice that way. So not too hard to find them, and they do line up really well. So that's simple. I mean, it is what it is, right? One thing I have noticed though, is this actually lines up fairly closely with most Scott spreaders. And you'll see they have that right up here. See, they're saying setting comparison chart. Like if you're on a Scott's and you're at a 3.5, the Echo you're at a 3.5. It does tend to get off in a couple spots. For the most part though, it does match the Scott spreader settings, which I think is pretty cool. So almost every fertilizer in the world that you're gonna get is gonna have a Scott spreader setting. So the Echo is pretty much right on. I have found that to be the case. Maybe it's off by a click here or there, but for the most part, it does line up right with the Scott's spreader settings. So that was a pretty smart way for them to do it. It does have an edge guard that you can flip down, but I never use that really. It's, I don't know, just not something I'm going to be using. Okay, so the next thing you'd want to look at is the height. How does this work for tall or short people? I'm short. I probably look tall in this view, but I'm 5'8". And this does actually really well for me. I actually prefer to keep it tilted a little bit forward when I'm applying, and I'll show you why in a second. And it works just fine for me. If you were taller, you'd probably have it raked a little bit further back and be fine, just because you're kind of reaching down more. But overall, the height is fine for me, and I could see how this could work for people of taller or shorter capacity. The handles kind of have a little bit of this rake it to the rear, which is comfortable ergonomically. So. And plenty wide, you feel like you have control. So I'm good with that. And like I mentioned, it's stout. It's solid, it's not wobbly, and that really means a lot. You need to feel the tool as an extension of your arms, and you definitely get that out of the spreader. Let's go back down under the petticoats here, and you can see sealed gearbox, excellent. It pushes fine, it pushes easily actually, so it's not hard to push even when it's full. And that's however they have it geared in here is good. But the one thing I want to talk about next is this impeller right here. You could actually see, you can actually see it's a little yellow. That's from some prodiamine I threw through this, but I'm not sure if you're going to be able to tell here, but can you tell that it's kind of concave? In other words, it's not flat. Let me go get another spreader and show you. Most impellers are flat. This one is kind of raked or concave, or gosh, I don't know the word, but it's slanted. I'll show you. So here's my old Echo 2600A Plus, and I'll try to do some still pictures so you can see, but this impeller here is fairly flat. I mean, it's got a little concave to it, but it's definitely not as pronounced as this here. And I'm not just looking at the cut plastic here either. I'm seriously saying it literally concaves in. I mean, you can see it at the bottom here. You can see the concave. Whereas here, it's mostly flat. And then this thing, which I'll talk about this in a minute, this is literally a prototype from a company. Super cool that I got this. Most of this was made on a 3D printer because it's a prototype, but I just wanted to show you here. See, flat, the impeller is flat. So the reason I wanted to point out that impeller there is concave is because the fertilizer falls down through the drop holes, and then this impeller is spinning, and it lands on this impeller, and then these fins here are what fling the fert out, right? And there's some engineering that's been done based on how fast that spins, how fast this drops. All of that is what gives you your swath or your spread pattern. That's why I tell you that the walking speed is important. It's usually 3 to 3.5 miles per hour. That's kind of the standard. But for sure, whatever your walking speed is, it has to be consistent from start to finish, because when you're spreading fert and it's flinging, if you're slowing down, you're getting an arc. When you go slower, the fert's going like this, and when you go faster, the fert's going like this. So you have to keep a consistent push all the way through. The thing about this, though, being that it's got that concave, is it actually throws the fert up before it throws it out, which means this thing can throw a super wide swath. One of the widest swaths I've ever seen. Well, even in like professional, like when I've used the professional spikers or Lescos, this thing will throw as wide or wider than those. So when I do my application in a few minutes, I'll try to show you, but essentially that's why when I use this, I tend to tilt it up a little bit to kind of push the swath so that it doesn't go so wide. If you actually rake this back, it will throw out and away. And I promise you, I could get this whole area done in 2 passes. This thing literally throws 6 to 7 feet to each side, which is really wide. That's what she said. If you've been using a Scotch spreader, it'll throw about 3.5 feet. Even this Earthway here, 3.5 to maybe 4 feet. This thing, well, yeah. So that's really not a positive or a negative. It's just some of you might like to have that super wide swath, but if you have areas of your lawn that are thinner or not as wide or more narrow, that'd be the right word, narrow, this may not be the right spreader for you unless you do like me and you kind of tilt things down. I don't really have any narrow areas though. Most of my yard's pretty wide open, but again, if you tilt it down, you'll push the swath down. But if you just keep it even level, it's throwing up and out, which is making the swath super wide. Okay, now on to a couple things I don't like. I don't like the actuator here. This is just like the less expensive Scotch spreaders, where this spring, see if you can see it. So, can you see that opening? That's from me actuating this handle. And that just feels chinchy to me. It's just crazy that this whole thing feels solid. It feels like it's been put together well. It's a solid unit. And then they kind of put this kind of, you know, I don't know. I mean, anytime I see any kind of cabling like this with a spring, I know that this is gonna get stretched out over time. This is gonna get bumped and dinged. And because it's riveted, it's not like I'd be able to repair it very easily. So now one thing though that is better than the Scotch spreaders, because the Scotch spreaders do use that. However, the Scotch spreaders also rely on that same handle to tell you how far open the drop hole will be. This doesn't do that. It has a separate adjustment, as I showed you earlier. This is what actually controls how far open the drop holes are. This actuator, all it really does is just open the door. So if this doesn't have to be precision, it just needs to open all the way. So when you actuate this handle, those have to come open all the way. You'll know if you have a Scotch spreader what I'm talking about. On the Scotch spreader, when you pull this handle, it'll actually go open more or less depending on the setting. This is a little step better than that, but it still just doesn't feel right. And some guys will say that this hurts their hand over time. I haven't had that happen because I don't have any really long runs, and I've only got just under 10,000 to do, so I'm not doing that much. But I'm assuming if you had a long run to go on, I mean, maybe holding that spring like that, maybe that could bother your hand over time for sure. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and put some fert out, and I'll actually encounter when I do this, the biggest complaint that most people have, and it's definitely something that I don't like either. So normally I would start maybe just on the other side of the mailbox there, but because this thing throws so far, I'm gonna start over here. I am gonna tilt it forward a little bit, but still it's gonna throw a good 4.5 to 5 feet that way and 4.5 to 5 feet that way. That right there is dead signal grass, by the way. One of the things that is nice about this is because it's so springy, when you let off, it shuts off down there. At least for me, I haven't had any clogs. Some people talk about that. I have not experienced any clogging where the door gets hung up. in the fert. I haven't had that happen, so I actually do like the fact that it, bam, shuts off easy. Okay, so I don't know if you can tell, but it's starting to do what people don't like and what I don't like, is when you start getting down to the bottom, and there's still a good couple pounds in there, because there's not a lot of rake or slope here, the fert sticks up around the sides here. And you can see it happening. There's a lot of fert gathered around the sides, and the drop holes are starting to show when really they shouldn't be yet because of how much is in there. So what you find yourself having to do is when you get to the end of a run, is you gotta give it a little bump. Some people don't like that. I'm gonna go ahead and go right down this domination line right here because it's not dominating like I like. So I'm holding it a little further forward now so it doesn't go so wide and I can control it. But I can already see the prills are starting to flow inconsistently. I'm gonna have to start shaking it on every run. You see, the lower I get, the more I have to shake it.
Does the skin look red and swollen?
That's what she said.
Keep those prills over those drop holes. I'll tell you what though, how's that for eyeballing? I got all that done over there, all that done over there, and the only section I didn't get was that. There's a little in there. If we can get it to come out. So that's the issue people have is, and I agree, this is not sloped enough to really keep the fert going. And this agitator here, it's big and beefy, but it just doesn't do that great of a job. I'd rather see it long and slender. That's where you can look at these other spreaders and you can see the Earthway. It has a little of that same problem, but not as much. Obviously super steep here, steeper there, and then the holes are right there. So you can see that steep design makes for better fert flow. And then this is the prototype that I got. This will be coming to the market soon. But look at how steep that is. That's exactly why they made this. And it's even a cone shape down here. And using this, there is absolutely no way for anything to get stuck. It zooms right down through. In fact, this one funnels so much that it actually stops the impeller from moving because this one goes too much. Everything gets down in there and gets packed down in there because it's flowing. Gravity's pulling it too fast. So this is like the extreme rake. This is like the good rake. And this is the flat, not enough rake. So I actually don't mind having to bump and thump it towards the end just to get everything to flow. It doesn't really seem to be that much of an annoyance to me. I mean, well, I shouldn't say that. It is a little bit of an annoyance, but all the other things that this brings with it, again, mainly that solid feel and that nice spread pattern. I kind of talked about the spread pattern, how wide it is, but I kind of like that. And again, I just tilt it forward to control that. So I actually think that all the positives on this outweigh that major negative. And you know, again, it's at this price point, you can't expect perfection. There's always gonna be something you don't like. But I would just say, overall, and you know, I'm pretty critical on stuff usually, but overall I would say this is a good value for that $134 and something you should consider. Now, one of the things that might be a positive in getting this from a dealer is if you get it and you don't like it, they may take it back. I don't know how that would really work on Amazon, even though I've heard Amazon takes everything back, but it might be a pain in the rear end to ship it. But a dealer would probably stand behind their product. So I would ask when you go to your dealer if you could even demo it, or you know, what happens if you don't like it? And you know, maybe that'd be something that would help sway your decision. So hope this video has been helpful to you. I gotta go ahead and get the rest of my lawn done here, but hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Hope you have a great week coming up. And if you're somewhere that's icy cold and not used to it, or somewhere that's icy cold up north and you're tired of it, I hope that spring comes to you soon and the sun is shining on your face before you know it. I'm Alan Hain, the Lawn Care Nut. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the lawn.